to Paris today, and it's going to be exciting because I'm going to be talking at an inaugural event for the Parisian gaming ecosystem. There's going to be around 200 people in the audience, and we're going to be talking about things related to games and how do we build our culture for our companies. I'm particularly going to be talking about how to have more female founders and more diversity inside organizations, which is something super key that we need to solve both in the tech industry and games industry. And I have my matcha latte, which is very important in the morning because I didn't have any breakfast, just yoga. So let's go to Paris. Turns out we have a little bit of a wait. It's the first time I'm talking about female founders and diversity, etc. I know that a lot of women don't want to do that because they want to be the ones on stage talking about their achievements. But I think talking about the small minority of women making games, I think it's important that we go on stage and talk about that, because if you share with others all the actions that you have been making to improve it, it makes everyone self-aware, a little bit more self-aware. But we must, because otherwise in 5 years' time we're going to be talking about the same things over and over again because no one's going to be taking action. And taking action is actually one of my points. Brings me so much memories. The first time I came to Europe, I went to London, Amsterdam and Paris. And I literally took the train, the Eurostar, from London to Paris. And I was totally lost because at the time I couldn't speak, well, I still cannot speak French properly, but I couldn't understand anything around me and people couldn't understand me. But I think that trip was such a milestone in my life because it was the first time that it was after my first year of my first job that I saved loads of money, and I said to myself, I'm gonna have enough so I can go and have a 30-day trip to Europe on my own on my first vacation. So yeah, it was really good. Funny because when you're building a startup, which is a technology startup, you're usually solving a very particular problem, saying, okay, I can see that traffic in Paris is really bad. I'm not sure, sorry. Then I think I'm going to create an app that's going to help with that. And when you're making games, it's way different because you're not only serving a purpose of a functionality to solve a particular problem, but you also need to create something that it's entertaining. When you talk about entertainment, there's like all sorts of levels of emotions that people go and get attached to something that is very entertaining. And when I talk about emotions, I talk about, am I going to create an experience where people are going to laugh, or where people are going to cry, or they want to socialize, right? There are loads of different aspects of... It's here already? Yeah. Oh, we already arrived. Okay, good. So I'll continue in a minute.
I don't have machine credit card.
You don't have a machine?
Yeah.
So I was told that they all accept cards, and then poor guy, he doesn't have a machine, so I need to find somewhere to get some money for him. Do you want to wait like 2 minutes? And I'll ask in the hotel.
Give me your card.
You do have the machine. He did have. Thank you, merci. Have a good day, bye-bye. He had the machine. He said he didn't have the machine. Wow. Roberta, I know that Bossa is all about creativity. Could you please tell me how this translates through your studio and affects the way you operate? Yes, I can tell you that. So basically, the way Bossa Studios scales creativity is by having game jams every single month. We literally stopped the whole company, 80 people, to go into a mode of creating new games. And what we find out that most ideas are not so good. Or sometimes there's like not so good idea that turns out to be a really good game. But I think the process of doing that, it's so important for the culture as a whole, because people feel that they are responsible for something that they created. They feel very much attached when they create something pretty unique. And I think that permeates into the organization, that people feel autonomy because we're not telling them what to do. It's not like a top-down type of organization. And they also embrace their failures. The way that affects our operation is that we all know that we need to embrace our failures in order to succeed. Do you take actions to better face millennials' expectations regarding the workplace? Oh, the millennial question. Simon Sinek. I think there is a perception that millennials are the entitled generation. Everything needs to be immediate and everything needs to be like, if I'm not succeeding now, therefore I'll never succeed, and they give up. But I think people also forget that the environment where they're growing up is actually all very immediate. The best way that you can kind of empathize with your workforce millennials is actually to understand where they're coming from and adjust a few things in the way that you manage them so that you can get the best out of them. So for instance, one of the things that works very well is coaching. I think a lot of the miscommunication with millennials happens because we're not talking to them enough and we're not understanding their drives. Let's say that they believe that they're doing a lot and they're not getting rewarded. The result action is, why are they thinking they're doing a lot in the first place? Maybe they're highly distracted and they're doing like 10 things at the same time and not getting anywhere. Or maybe it's because they have not exercised their frustration levels. They think that they need to succeed the first time they do something. How you change their mindset for them to understand that sometimes it requires really hard work for you to perfect something is through coaching. It's through talking to them on an ongoing basis, mentoring them, saying, hey, you're doing very well here, but this area here, it's all about you training more often so you get to mastery. They don't wake up and suddenly they know how to do something like from that night and day, but you need to give them feedback. If you have a millennial worker in your company that is not performing well, maybe you should revisit how you get people to perform in the first place. Why not? I think we all learn from each other, and that's how you evolve your organization, by learning the new ways to do things. So learn from millennials. They might be teaching something you don't know.
Please welcome Roberta Lucca.
We actually took money quite early on from a strategic investor. I do not recommend you do that very much in the beginning. Chances are, you're going to pivot your company, things are going to change, your board is going to change completely, and likelihood your visions are not going to align in a few years' time. The attribution theory is the following. Men and women attribute successes and failures in very different ways. When women succeed, they attribute the success to the team, to the support that she had, even to luck. And men attribute success to themselves. When failure happens, it's kind of the opposite. Women take that really personal and they say, the blame is mine. I made a big mistake. And men actually usually connect to external factors. So I think understanding those nuances really help leaders and managers and founders to, on the day-to-day, have the right conversations with the right people to understand where they're coming from so they can adjust their management styles accordingly. If you think you are too small to make a difference, try sleeping with a mosquito. What is the small action you're going to do tomorrow to increase the gender diversity in your companies, or to invest in some really kick-ass female founders? Thank you.
chance to promote someone. And there was a girl and a guy fighting for the promotion, and I ended up promoting the guy, I think, for a lot of right reasons, for like you said, achievements and vision, and also just basically, I thought that person was the right one for the role. But I can't help have a doubt, right? So my question is, there are a lot of male founders and studio heads in the audience. How do we recognize our own bias? What can we do?
Yeah, that's excellent question. I think read about the attribution theory. I think it's a really good start. But I think it's about incentivizing them to be more upfront about their potential. It's almost like triggering the things that they have inside that they usually don't communicate. I think it's more about the perception of language and perception of how they talk about the successes and failures. And probing a little bit further, not taking the first thing that they talk about as the reality, is going a little bit deeper, asking why. Why are you saying this about yourself? Why do you think you're ready for that? Or why do you think you're not ready for that? Because when you drill into the whys, you start understanding deeper what are their capabilities and potentials. That would be my first advice. That's the end of the trip to Paris now. It was so good to speak at the Pro Evolution Society conference. It was their first one. 200 people in the audience. Great majority of them, game developers, all based in Paris. Majority based in Paris. Some people from all over the world, including Finland and etc. I was really surprised and very, very happy about what I talked about, which is about how to get more women into games, how to get more female founders funded. The amount of people who came to talk to me at the end, it was like I had literally a queue that was non-ending. When I shared all of those things with the audience yesterday, I could see in their eyes they were like literally learning so much, and I think that's why they had so many questions and they engaged a lot on the subject. And I'm so happy that happened. And I'm so glad that Marshall invited me to speak here. Marshall, by the way, is the co-founder of a company called OBB, which I went to their offices today for the first time. They make some amazing mobile games, and they also we share the same investors basically. He's a super cool guy, and he's the one behind the event. He was the one who invited me to be here, to be in Paris. I love the fact that we talk about our businesses so openly and try to understand what are the strengths that we have and exchange. There are a lot of companies out there that they look at other similar companies in the same sector and they think that they are competitors, and for some reason we don't see each other as competitors. Maybe because it's like we actually make very different games with different audiences, that we know that we can help each other, we can learn so much from each other. So I'm looking forward to doing some exchange with that team as well. But yeah, so that was it. It was good. And now off to catch up with my emails and everything that I did not do over the last 2 days. Yeah, so see you next week, and I hope you enjoyed. Tell me if you've been to Paris already, or if you want to be there, or if you're thinking of talking at some events around the world to share your knowledge. Let me know in the comments below. Bye.